Hello everyone, I'm Dan Philgreen, and this is Shell Point Today for the weekend of May 17, 18, and 19. On today's show, we talk to audiologist Jack Adams, who will tell us everything we always wanted to know about hearing aids, but we're afraid to ask. But first, a reminder about an event on Friday. Who doesn't like to hear young people sing? We've got a delightful choir full of kids from the Three Oaks Middle School in Estero. They'll be offering an a cappella concert of songs from around the world in French Creole, Japanese, Spanish, Chinese, and more. All are welcome to the Three Oaks Middle School Chamber Choir, performing Friday at 1 p.m. in the Grand Cypress Room at the Woodlands. And then next week, we've got a whole slew of Academy and Health Connection classes to take note of, including this one. Hearing aids are a fact of life for many of us, but it can be a little intimidating for first-time buyers. Fortunately, we've got an expert in our midst, audiologist Jack Adams, who's been in the business for decades. He'll answer all your questions about hearing aids at a free Health Connections event next Thursday, May 23rd. It's at 10:15 a.m. in the King's Crown Community Room. Here's a preview.
I'm Mary Franklin with another Health Connection program coming to you on Thursday, May 23rd at 10:15 in the King's Crown Community Room. We welcome back Jack Adams once again, and he will be presenting everything you wanted to know about buying a hearing aid and more. So, Jack, thanks for coming back again and presenting. Our residents really enjoy your frank and honest presentations that you give.
Well, I'm glad to hear they enjoyed it, and I thoroughly enjoy providing them, so it's a pleasure for me to be here.
Well, on some of your evaluations, we do an evaluation after each presentation, and someone even wrote, he's very passionate, he loves what he does, and it comes through in the information that you give to our residents. What type of information can they expect this time?
Well, hearing loss, unfortunately, is one of the things that people put off for a long period of time. Studies will show that most people have been aware of a hearing loss for at least 5 to 7 years before they act to do anything about it. And so I felt that a good presentation for people would be if we can shorten that time frame to help people start hearing earlier. If one of the reasons keeping them from it is the unknown questions and answers about how to actually proceed into the marketplace and how to buy a hearing aid, we might be able to make people feel a little bit more comfortable about proceeding down that road to get help sooner rather than later.
And there's a lot of different options out there. My father-in-law is going through this right now. I think he's on his second set of hearing aids. The first one didn't quite work out. It wasn't comfortable for him. So there are a lot of options and ways to maneuver through all of this, correct?
There are different entries into the marketplace. You can go through a physician, you can go through an audiologist, you can go through a hearing aid specialist. There are all different types of products. And nowadays, so much of it depends on, the individual that you're working with having the competency and capability to be able to program and adjust a hearing aid for that particular person. But it really helps the person to have some background and some information about what questions to ask and what prices should be and what they may really need or not need. And I think we're going to be able to provide that information to people so they have a lot more confidence when they start that process of trying to get into the marketplace to get some help for their hearing loss.
Right.
And I hear so frequently from people, after we fit them with hearing aids, it's like, oh, I wish I had done this sooner.
Right.
It's one of those things you put off for a long time, but then once you do it and you appreciate the benefits of it, it can be a very positive experience. So it's really nice to be able to get people into that helpful mode at a sooner age or an earlier age than waiting longer than they have to.
Would you suggest a spouse or a friend coming to this presentation because maybe you don't realize what you're not hearing?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I always encourage spouses and friends to come along because it's something that, first of all, communication is a two-way street.
Right.
And that's why you wear hearing aids, is so that you can communicate. And so if you have a loved one or a friend that you communicate with or have problems with that communication, sometimes their encouragement alone can be enough to put you into the marketplace also. But, I just hate to hear people having delayed that decision-making for unnecessary reasons. And if it's their fear fear or their distrust or their just cost, not knowing what they should be spending or whether they're getting a fair deal or not a fair deal. And so I really hope to just be able to present, a lot of facts and information for the individuals that attend so they feel a lot more confident about making that decision.
Well, I am confident that you're going to do just that because our residents who have attended your session or see you at our own Arbor Medical Center have really appreciated your patience that you have. And you also are busy because you also see patients at the Audiology Consultants of Southwest Florida.
Yes, we're here on Wednesdays, and I've thoroughly enjoyed the experience, and look forward to a continued relationship with ShellPoint.
Jack, thanks for being here today.
My pleasure.
If you would like to sign up for this program, you can do so at either service desk. The program is Thursday, May 23rd at the King's Crown Community Room at 10:15. I'm Mary Franklin, along with Jack Adams. Make it a happy and healthy day.
Coming up, we are replaying some of the week's best stories from ShellPoint TV. But before we do that, let's cover all of this weekend's happenings, menus, and church news.
Welcome to the Happening segment of ShellPoint TV. I'm Suzanne Zavada, and I'm here with Bev Chanley to go over all the events happening this weekend at ShellPoint. We'll start off on Friday morning with pickleball at 8 o'clock, and they'll be playing out at the pickleball court on the island. At 8:15, the Stamp Ministry will be meeting in the Stamp Room on the island, and volunteers are welcome. Then from 8:30 to 11:30, you can find the Marketplace in the Administration Courtyard on the island. 9 o'clock, we have the men's match play tennis group meeting out at the Woodlands tennis courts. And at 10 o'clock, canasta will take place in the game room at the Woodlands. 10:15, Inquiring Minds will meet in the Osprey Room on the island. As we move into the afternoon, we have Mixed Progressive Bridge at 12:30 in the game room at the Woodlands. And at 1 o'clock, we have the Three Oaks Chamber Choir performing in the Grand Cypress Room of the Woodlands. At 1:15, table tennis will be in the Tarpon Room, and we have the Quilters in the Osprey Room on the island. At 1:30, Vespers will be meeting in the Community Room of the Arbor. And at 2 o'clock, Euchre will be in the Stable Room at the Woodlands. Vespers will meet again at 2:45 in the Community Room of King's Crown. And at 6:45, we have game night in the Resident Activity Center on the island. Now here's Bev with Saturday.
Thanks, Suzanne. Saturday, May 18th, 34 years ago today was the day that Mount St. Helens erupted. I was there, maybe some of you were too, but it was surely a once-in-a-lifetime experience you don't really want to go through twice. But here at ShellPoint, we're going to start at 8 o'clock with the Adopt a Road group meeting at Administration Circle to do their cleanup. Also at 8 o'clock, we have the Round Robin Men's Doubles Tennis down at the tennis courts. Then we move to 9 o'clock for waterfront shopping and dining at Fisherman's Village up in Punta Gorda. Court pickups begin on the island at 9 o'clock, 9:10 for the Woodlands, and 9:20 for Eagles Preserve. Sign up is required for that. 9:45 is the time for duplicate bridge. That'll be in the Manatee Room. 10 o'clock is golf croquet. They gather at the bocce court down at Woodland Commons. 10:15 we have the Model Yacht Sailing Club. They'll be at the Woodland Commons Lake. And at 1 o'clock we have chess. That'll be played in the Library Lounge. 1:15 is the time to head to the Tarpon Room for table tennis. This will be available all weekend unless it's otherwise posted. We move up to 3:15 for basic line dancing. They'll be in the Health Club. And then on to 6:30 where duplicate bridge will be played in the Manatee Room. Thank you for joining me today. Here's Suzanne with the Sunday lineup.
Sunday at 9 o'clock, the Christian Life Studies group will be meeting in the game room at the Woodlands. And they also will be meeting at 9:15 in the Village Church on the island. At 10:15, morning worship will take place in the Village Church on the island, and it will also broadcast live on ShellPoint TV, Channel 12. At 2 o'clock, the Mixed Golf League will be meeting at the ShellPoint Golf Club. And at 6:15, we'll have the evening service in the Village Church on the island. We hope you have a fun and busy weekend, and we'll see you back here on Monday.
Hi, I'm Terry Kolath with your Academy information for next week. Our new classes will be Beautiful Science 8 on Monday, presented by Pastor Don Stainhook. On Tuesday, Professor Adric Kerr will present Jordan's Petra. And we'll also have the other Apple Store on the iPad by Bruce Findlay of Sundial. On Wednesday, a computer college class, What to Do with Windows 8, and a legacy seminar, All Things Medicare. Penny Modridge and Bruce Findlay will also present iPad Apps, Apps, Apps.
Menus for your weekend. In the Crystal Room, the Crystal Platter on Friday is fried haddock with wedge-cut fries and coleslaw. The dinner special is the seafood buffet for $14.95, and the soup of the day is lobster bisque. In the Island Cafe for lunch on Friday, enjoy a seafood basket with coleslaw for $6.95. The dinner special is Chef's Choice for $7.95. Dinner specials in the Palm Grill on Friday are calf liver for $14.95 or poached cod for $15.95. On Saturday, the Crystal Room is closed. In the Island Cafe for lunch on Saturday, enjoy a turkey club wrap with chips for $6.95. The dinner special is grilled pork chops with mashed potatoes and mixed vegetables for $7.95. Dinner specials in the Palm Grill on Saturday are prime rib for $18.95 or beef bourguignon for $15.95. On Sunday, the Crystal Room features its Sunday brunch for $17.50. In the Island Cafe for lunch on Sunday, enjoy fresh fruit with cottage cheese, sliced tomatoes, and a hamburger patty for $6.95. The dinner special is Chef's Choice for $7.95. And the Palm Grill is closed on Sundays. All menus are available 24 hours a day at www.shellpoint.net.
I'm Randy Woods, and I'm here with David Pavey today as we look forward to the weekend, another opportunity for us as a church family, as a community, together to worship God. And David, particularly interested in talking with you today because you'll be speaking Sunday morning.
I will.
So tell us, what will your sermon be about? What are you going to be talking about this Sunday morning?
Well, the title is Two Things God Wants You to Know. So you've heard of a 3-point sermon and a 1-point sermon. This is a 2-point sermon.
A 2-point sermon, two things God wants you to know. Is this based on a Bible story?
It is.
Which one?
Well, if I tell you, then you won't want to come and hear the sermon.
Oh.
But let me give you a clue.
Okay.
It's about a character found in the first book of the Bible. And there's a second clue, since we're talking about 2 points. When he was young, he had a coat of many colors.
Oh, I think.
But I don't want to give it away.
Okay. Well, then, what about the subject of your story?
Well,
Why have you chosen this subject of two things God wants to know?
Well, for several reasons. One is that I hit upon it in my quiet time as I was reading my Bible in the morning, and I'd never heard a sermon on this, and the truth of it just seemed to jump out of me because it's what I was living through.
Okay.
So that's it. And then when I came to Shell Point, I wrote my memoirs. And in writing my memoirs, I realized that as we get older, our lives fill up with people, and I was moving into a new phase, and I wanted to be sure that I wasn't bringing any baggage with me, that I had reconciled with my past, and that's one of the key words.
Okay.
And so it got me thinking about that. Where am I in life? And then it got me thinking about what I do with my time. Am I going to spend my time resting and swimming and reading books? To what extent am I accountable for what I do with my time?
So these two things have to do with time management and reconciliation.
That's it.
Well, I can tell you, you're a great blessing to me and my wife personally, but I think in our community, our church staff, we value all that you contribute, and I appreciate that. And look forward to hearing what you're going to be sharing with us on Sunday morning then in more detail.
Thank you, Randy. Appreciate
Well, as we gather, Sunday morning, invite you to join us Sunday morning as we share together in worship. Sunday night at 6:15, we're going to find out what can happen with a simple old shoebox. As you know, the last several years as a church and community, we've participated with Samaritan's Purse in providing shoe boxes to children around the world. So join us Sunday night at 6:15 as we share with Jessica from Samaritan's Purse at 6:15 Sunday night for the evening service, and then with David Pavey as we share in worship Sunday morning here. If you're not able to be part of the service in the morning, you can always tune in to ShellPoint TV Channel 12 for the live broadcast of our service. It's going to be another wonderful weekend, a special day of worship as we share together. I invite you to come and join us. Have a wonderful weekend.
It's time now for our Shell Point TV Week in Review. And we began this week with a visit to Sanibel and a visit to the Conservation Foundation with its cavalcade of creatures.
I see a snake.
Well, this is a mangrove water snake, so it too would be around the Shell Point area, the rather harmless snake that just kind of like sunning itself on the little roots of the trees. And I know a lot of people aren't really fond of snakes, but this is a good guy. And I think we all have that knee-jerk reaction to snakes.
A snake.
And that's okay, you know, but you kind of get used to good snakes, bad snakes.
Sure.
Most
And
of
we
ours
should
are
get
good.
used to which are good ones. Is that his skin?
Yes, he did shed in
beautiful.
recent times, so yeah. So now he's up warming himself underneath one of the lights.
I can just imagine a child coming to be this close to a snake.
Yep,
That's
again, handles and railings so they
not-
can get close.
And it's not taking off anywhere. It's just staying right there. Happy little snake.
And there's samples of some of the oyster bags that volunteers, hardier volunteers, help us a couple times a year to take these oyster bags out into places where historically there were oyster bars that have disappeared. And once you get these out in the water, then little baby oysters and also brittle stars and other creatures that are accustomed to hiding in those nooks and crannies start coming back. So
How do you put them in the water?
well, they load these bags up. They weigh sometimes 30, 40 pounds with dead oyster shells. And then they put them in kayaks and they wade out. And they one hand over hand. So it's a little bit labor intensive, but if you've got some go-getters, this is a great thing to do. And it shows up on our website.
And then,
when they're
it just grows and the wildlife comes back.
Yeah.
Oh, how perfect.
Yeah, it's a great thing to watch the whole ecosystem come back in the oyster bars. As you see right now, we've got our donation jar out because we don't have anyone to actually greet the visitors. And during the winter time, we have lots of volunteers down here who are willing to help us, but in that summer slow season, there's a lot of times when we don't have someone to say, hey, that's a diamondback terrapin, or can I show you something about the sea turtles in the exhibits? And so for me, it seems that shell pointers might like coming over onto the island when there isn't a backup at the toll booth.
Exactly.
And still have a really meaningful way of contributing to SCCF's work. So
Absolutely. And fun to greet people.
Yeah.
What a nice place. Come on in. Look what we have here.
Right, right.
Fantastic. And that'll be $5, please.
Yeah.
All right.
Exactly.
Okay, let's see what's over here.
Okay.
This is wonderful. Oh my gosh, where do you want to start? What's this?
Well, let me just say that this is about the size of sea turtle that would come up on the beaches to nest in the summer. Although this nesting takes place in the dark, so a volunteer who would be part of the sea turtle program probably isn't going to run into one of these. But this is the size, and that's why I say when they climb out of the water, they're leaving bulldozer tracks because those flippers are just pushing a lot of sand behind
How much do
them.
they weigh?
Well, they can weigh 200 pounds, sometimes 250. They can be a little smaller than that, and we have lots of species of sea turtle, but the primary one is loggerheads.
There's more.
There's more, there's more. So let me just show you what we've got is a little sampling of what our marine lab is doing. And this particular piling is just off of Shell Point in the intercoastal waterway. And it's one of our water sensors, and they're hoisting it out of the water. This is something that our younger, sprier 30-somethings do. But they've actually got to get their scuba equipment on, and they're pulling this out, and in all of the scientific instrumentation, they find all sorts of crazy things going in there. One of the sheepheads actually chewed one of the wires, and we couldn't figure out why the sensor wasn't working for a while. But oh, it's a barnacle. You know, it wasn't.
Yes,
And then one got struck by lightning. This is one of the solar cells. It was the one off of Shell Point. Got struck by lightning, but they're out maintaining the equipment that actually gives us this computer feed that anyone who gets on a website can see, and it gives us salinity and temperature and how clear the water is, and that gives us an idea of what's happening in the river. And these sensors stretch all the way to Lake Okeechobee.
Fascinating. So we can tell from our home before we go out and get on our boat.
Right,
exactly
right.
What's going on out there.
And with this, they were able to explain to the Army Corps of Engineers and the Water Management District that because the river wasn't flowing as it should, there would be a stagnant pool. And in that stagnant pool is a place where water supply for Alva and Olga was taken from. And they said, if you don't change what you're doing right now, you're going to have to shut down a water plant that serves 40,000 people.
Based on solid research.
Yes, numbers,
Fantastic.
just numbers, and these are out on our website. So
that's amazing, isn't it?
yeah, it's
Wow, what a place, what a place.
You know, folks that are more interested in the live shell, this is another part of being able to work in our nature centers, to be able to show people what a tulip shell looks like and a horse conch.
So cool. Yeah. Oh, so great.
So we have a flounder hiding in here someplace. I challenge you to find him, but it's in here. But it gives people a sense of what type of wildlife lives in each of the habitats of the island.
And you see them so quickly. You know,
Yes.
I mean, you see them, and you know, you see a raccoon and it's gone. There
Yeah.
it is. You can really,
Yeah.
really look at it.
And look at the talons of an osprey.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
They're beautiful. Beautiful.
And see how things hide in the mangrove roots. So low tide is an opportunity for these birds to be out feeding.
The mangrove is an amazing, amazing tree.
Oh
isn't
my
it?
gosh. I don't know. It is. It's an extraordinary tree. I mean, sort of the trade-off up north would be salt marshes. Mangroves don't tolerate frost, so what you think of as estuaries in the northwest or northeast coast would be salt marshes.
Right.
Down here it's mangroves.
It's amazing. Beautiful, beautiful.
This is Lucky over here. This was one that was crossing the street and a woman picked up when it was about this big. And once her aquarium became too small for it, she brought Lucky over to us and said, do you have an aquarium for it? And we usually don't condone people bringing things in from the wild,
Right.
but in this case, we made an exception because we weren't sure what the fate of Lucky would be. Being raised from this big
To that.
to about that size is just about gator bait size, so it doesn't know how to protect itself outside.
I've never seen a soft shell this close.
Oh my heavens!
Aren't they amazing?
They have this snorkel nose,
Yeah.
where their whole neck can extend. Lucky can lay on the bottom, and its nose will reach up to the water.
No.
Right now, it's just getting warm, but its neck just extends. It's really amazing to watch.
That is amazing. Oh,
I'm amazed Lucky isn't looking at us because humans in front of the glass may mean food.
Oh, isn't that beautiful?
Yeah. But a soft shell turtle, you can see how it's sort of undulating.
Next week, a resort services trip will visit a saline-filtered pool in Naples. Why saline? Some Shell Point residents explain.
I'm Mary Franklin with Resort Services today with a wonderful group of residents, and we are here at the Island Pool to talk about our new exciting adventure, the Aquatic Center. And we have been meeting with residents for over a year about what they would like to see at the new Aquatic Center. And one of those topics that always seems to come up is saline pool water. And I would like to introduce you to Marianne McGuire, June Hansen, and Lowell Schultz. Thank you for being here today. Now, Marianne, you really enjoy swimming. Why did you start swimming a while ago?
Well, I really got into swimming about 6 years ago when I was going through chemotherapy, and I found I felt very invigorated, and it would help with the fatigue, and I just felt better.
Okay.
So I started swimming. At that point, I was swimming in a spring.
Okay.
And it was wonderful. And I got into swimming almost every day during that process. And then I kept it up. And then I had an auto accident and broke 7 bones. And the healing process of that was amazing. And I think part of it was the swimming.
Right.
My bones healed very quickly, and I got my mobility back. And I think it's because I was swimming.
Right.
So I find it very, very invigorating, and it helps my health, and I just love it.
Well, that's great. Now, you have an interesting story. You don't swim here at Shell Point. Where do you swim?
I swim primarily at Lover's Key. And we love Lover's Key, so we go over there a couple of times a week, my husband and I. And I don't swim in the chlorinated pools generally because I'm swimming primarily for health reasons.
Right.
And chlorine is not very healthy for me.
Okay.
I break out in rashes if the chlorine is too strong. And everything I've read, it's not the healthiest thing for your body. So I find that that the salt water is better.
Oh, good. Well, good. That's great. And June, once that Gulf water heats up, you're right there too. Where do you head out to swim?
I go to City Park on Sanibel most of the time.
Okay.
And I just love the salt. Even though I live in Oakmont and my pool's in the front yard. Now I go in there in the winter, but the doctor has told me I should not be in chlorine.
Okay.
Because your skin is the largest organ of your body, and of course you absorb the chlorine, and it's a chemical.
Right.
And he says whenever possible, get in the salt water.
Right.
Well, then I get over to Sanibel, and the dark clouds roll in. And I got to turn around, come back over the causeway, the next day go over. There's a rip tide. There's usually a lot of things going on in the Gulf.
Right.
So it's wonderful to have, the pool coming here. And I have emailed and prayed and hoped that one day we would have a saline pool.
Well, that is our hope, because you don't want to fight that traffic anymore. You want to be able to walk right outside your door. You actually live down at the Woodlands, but are excited about the opportunity to even come here at the island.
Over to the island,
yes,
because I love the island too. Yes. Never mind what the chlorine does to your bathing suits. Oh, we're going to talk about that.
That hits
one.
the pocketbook, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
It does. Now, Lowell, you have served on our resident advisory committee for the new aquatic center for almost a year now.
Been a lot of fun, yes.
Yes, and there's been a lot of suggestions made for the new aquatic center, but it always comes back to the saline, doesn't it?
That's one of the big issues, and it was really exciting. As part of the exploratory work of the committee, we were invited by you folks to go down and try the Naples pool. There's a wide pool down there. And for me, it was an interesting experience. I'm a casual swimmer. I don't swim every day or on any regular basis. But for years, we had our own pool in our backyard. It was a chlorine pool. I didn't like to have to maintain it, so we don't have that here. But the burning of the eyes and it's sort of this oily feeling you get coming out of a chlorine pool, and it always seems to leave your hair stiff, and even though mine's not long, I won't say unmanageable, it just feels sticky or something. So it was interesting when I was really looking forward to getting in that pool and seeing what it was like. And the thing that I liked, when I do swim, I like to keep my eyes open, and I could never do that in a chlorine pool. My eyes always burn. I can't really do it in the ocean, obviously, because the salt burns a lot. But saline pool seems to be a much more neutral pH as far as the body is concerned, and it wasn't irritating at all. And I found it was very nice getting out of the pool, and I didn't feel slimy. My hair was, I'll say, normal. Which was a very pleasing experience. So I think, given a combination of factors, that was probably a lot of things that caused a very large consensus that everybody, if we could afford it and get to it, we wanted to have a saline pool. Everyone came out very excited, and a lot of people, like myself, it was the first time they had been in a saline pool, so we thought it was going to be a real good idea and hope we can get there.
Right, right. And I've heard it often described, and would the three of you agree that when you get out of the pool, the water, your skin feels silky? Is that a good explanation?
Yes, it is. It's not dried out as like it is in a chlorinated pool, and you don't have that awful chlorine smell that you can't get rid of.
Right.
So it's much subtler, and you just feel refreshed rather than like you've just been dumped in a a pool of chemicals.
Right, right. So there are many positive effects that a saline-operated pool can have, not only on your skin, but your hair, your swimsuit, and
non-irritation of your eyes. To me, that was a very major factor.
No more red eye. Right. This is only one part of the vision of the Aquatic Center, and if you would like to be involved in the vision of having a saline-operated pool or any of the other neat features offered in the Aquatic Center, you could give me a phone call or stop by Dawn Boren or Tim Stevenson's office and talk about the opportunities to get involved in the new Aquatic Center. I'm Mary Franklin with 3 wonderful residents. Have a great day.
Last week, we watched as Sal Zumbo cooked up fresh handmade pasta in the Crystal Room, right before our very eyes.
My name is Sal Zumbo. I am a cook at the Island Cafe. I came on board 5 months ago and I'm very happy. My background is I work in the Princess Cruise Line for 5 years. I work in the Crown Princess, the Royal Princess. Before that, I work in Disney. I work at the Epcot. I from Italy. I'm from Calabria. I do the culinary school. I'm graduated from culinary school of Italy. Today we have homemade pasta. It's very traditional, very easy to do. You can do in your house. The normal recipe is 1 pound pasta, 1 pound all-purpose flour. You use 3 eggs. 3 eggs. You use extra virgin olive oil. You use salt, and you use water. You put the egg. You put the salt. You put a little bit of water, and you put extra virgin olive oil. Right, and you mix it up. You mix it up. You mix it up, and you break the yolk and mix it up good. As soon as you start kind of sticky, but in the way you work, you know, and you do with the palm of your hands, and you turn around, and mix it up, and you mix it with the palm of your hands. Baby, you add a little bit or more water.
I can make my pasta. I've made pasta.
And you put a little bit extra flour, and do with the palm of your hands. Remember, after you do the dough, you need to relax for like 30 minutes. It let it relax. So where you mix it, where you use the machine, the dough is more relaxed. It's like a muscle, because when you put the mix with the extra virgin olive oil and salt, the flour form tension. It's very tense, so it relaxes for 30 minutes, and the dough is more soft. You can work more better, and I'll show you the way. The next step is.
I don't think I can help.
To make sure the dough is perfect, this is one trick I want to show you. You need to be no bubble. You see the way is over here, no bubble. This is the dough at this time is perfect. If you see a little bubble in there, it's because the dough not ready. Where it is all uniform on there, is the dough is ready. Today we have the Imperia machine. Is one of Italian best machine to make fresh home pasta. In this machine you have 10 different points. You go from 10 to 2. It thicken up the pasta the way you go. You start from 10 and we start from 10 and you go all the way down to 2. At this point we have already 2, and where you have a number 2, this is the thing you need to have. From this point you can do with this pasta, you can do lasagne, you can do ravioli. From this base you can do ravioli, lasagne, you can do fettuccine, pappardelle, you can do a lot of things. Now, put for example, you don't have this machine. If some people don't have the machine at home, you can, no problem. Take the dough, you roll like this, You roll it, and you roll it, and you can have a pasta right here. This is the pappardelle, or you can use the parsley, the tagliarini. You can have, you can do with this. You have a pappardelle. You can do the plain one. And do fettuccine. And do fettuccine. The green one also we can use pesto paste. A mix, you use less water, and you can do with the pesto, and a mix become green. And also we do repeat the same operation on the machine. You start with the number 10, and you put it down. After you go number 8, and you do down, 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 down. You go number 6. Number 6, after you number 4, you go escape 2 all the time. And after you do number 4, you are at the point, because you don't want it too thin. Because if you have a very thin, it can break in the process of cooking. Now it's the last stage, is number 2 out of the machine. At this point, you put a little bit of flour on this dough, because it can be sticky where you pass it in the last stage in the machine. And now we have a green fettuccine. You can have with pesto, with the spinach. It's beautiful. After you use it to cook, you need to have boiler water. You put the extra virgin olive oil in the water and a little bit of salt. The extra virgin keep it to stick. Also over here we have the red one. The red one is made with the tomato paste. Tonight I already make 15 pounds of pasta. I already pre-cook a little bit. The way we do is a 3-color pasta. I made from here, and from here we go at the chef station. We go at the chef station. We have a hot pasta, hot water over here. We put that here and warm it up. Here we have our shrimp, we have a meatball, we have a chicken, we have a little sausage, we have a garlic, spinach, onion, tomato, pepper. The sauce we have is a homemade pesto, homemade Alfredo, and marinara sauce. We have a beautiful Parmesan cheese for the hand. We put a little bit of onion, spinach, a little bit of tomato. Because the onion is raw, you want to cook it down a little bit. After that, we put the meat, put a couple of meatballs down. We'll cook it down a little bit. We put the marinara in here. A little bit touch of pesto. It's go well with this. Little touch of pesto. Okay. Now we have the pasta. You drain the pasta. The fettuccine, a 3-color fettuccine. You drain very well. And you mix it up. Now we plate.
Another week or two. And it's safe to go up. see you're also positioning them because plating is important.
Right. And what we have a beautiful, beautiful plate. Little bit of Parmesan cheese in the hand. And voila, what we have. Fresh fettuccine with the vegetable and meatball.
That's good enough to eat.
Yes, sir. This is for you. You can try. And you have a good.
Benno and Carla Benninga survived the Jewish persecution during World War II by hiding out in a house in the Netherlands for more than 2 years. Here is their story.
I was born in a small town in the Netherlands called Leeuwarden, capital of the province of Friesland. Friesland is a dairy province. The Holstein cows come from there, the white and black cows. That's what it's known for. And of course the dairy industry, although my father had a margarine factory. And people ask me, how come in the dairy country you make margarine? But in those days, the people exported the butter and ate the margarine.
I was born in The Hague, which is the seat of government in Holland.
Our mothers were cousins. And I knew Carla when she was a little girl, and I told her then, just grow up as fast as you can so we can get married. In 1940, May 10, the Germans invaded, and the first year and a half or so, they left us alone. But then all hell broke loose. And all the regulations came that we weren't allowed to do this and that. People had been picked up and were sent to concentration camps. So that's when my parents decided to go into hiding, which was very, very difficult. My father had 100 people working for him, and there wasn't one who offered to help us until my mother's seamstress came to us and put the key on the table. And when my mother said, what is that? She said, if it gets too hot for you, you come and stay with us. And they lived with 2 children in a small flat in Amsterdam, and they took us in too. But we could not stay there because the son had to go to work to Germany, and when they would come to pick him up, they would find us. So then we had to find another place, and that was under the smoke of Amsterdam in a small town. And these people had no money, but they figured the war is going to be over in a few months. So for a sum of money, they offered to take us in. Very small house, and we were in the attic most of the time. Unless she was in a good mood, we were allowed to sit in the living room. The woman started to abuse us terribly, physically and mentally. I read some books when she would allow us. We were playing some cards once in a while until she forbade that. We had a radio, and we would listen to the Allied radio from London, the Dutch radio, free Dutch. When she would let us, you know. But other than that, the local papers were all German, of course. We could not venture out. It was too dangerous. Even the neighbors weren't supposed to know that we were there. Although the woman shouted and screamed, so after the war, we found out that the whole village knew that we were there. And I'm telling you, I'm so unbelievably grateful for that whole village that they never told the Germans about us. I still don't understand how I survived those 2 years. Our godsend was the minister who lived there. He visited us, and he took my mother and sister in with them in the house next to the church. And then the last few weeks, my father and I were there too, until we were liberated.
November 41, the Germans came to the house. We all had to move to Amsterdam they wanted to have every Jew that was there in Amsterdam was easy target. We were allowed to take, I believe, our beds and our clothes, and that was about it. So we went into hiding, except unlike Benno, we all went different places. I was the first one picked up, which I considered lucky. And then they came for my parents, left my sister. The fact that my parents left my 13-year-old sister not really knowing whether people would come, but they did. So none of us knew where the other one was. I was 15 years old, and I had to have an optimistic view or I wouldn't be able to make it. My sister actually wasn't that far away, but I didn't know it. But finally I found out and was able to go see her. And about my parents, I didn't know anything. They found out that my parents were there and they picked them up, taken to a concentration camp in Holland by the name of Westerbork, which was basically a holding camp. They never killed anybody, but the trains to Germany went every Tuesday. But my parents were there afterwards at the time that the trains didn't run anymore. So they survived. I was able to get books to study. I think I was a year away from high school graduation. Went to take a typing course, very first thing I did when I was free. And then I found a job with the American forces. They had a headquarters in that town, and I spoke English, and I could type. So they gave me a job, and then when I went to see my parents, they gave me some sort of American Army jacket and some papers, and it took us, I think, 4 or 5 days to do 200 miles, because all the bridges were out. There was 3 bridges in Holland that you have to cross normally on a bridge, but they were down. It was a happy ending. There weren't very many people in Holland that survived as a whole family. In our family, we were the only ones. All the others were either gone or they had the family member missing.
My father lost all his brothers and sisters with their families. My grandfather was killed in Auschwitz. It's been a long time, and yet we still think a lot about that time, which sort of influenced part of our life.
We both went to the university.
Yeah, we both went to university, and her mother invited me from time to time for dinner. So I figured I should reciprocate. So I thought, well, I'll invite one of the daughters to the movie, and from then on, we dated. We were married in 1950. A week or so after my final exam, we boarded the New Amsterdam, and we came to America on the boat. America was the country that liberated us, and we were in awe of this fantastic country. And I wrote all the margarine companies in America, and the one company in Cincinnati accepted me. We were written up in the papers and all that, and we were invited by people. And I had to give a talk to the local accountants branch about the economic situation in Holland. I still don't know how I did it.
And what was it?
New York.
The hot dogs. And they said, would you like a hot dog? I said, I don't eat dogs. You know, I mean, you'd think you just never would think of.
Our daughter was born in 1952. Her name was Irene. And our son, Ron, was born in 55. The big shock of our life is when our daughter in 1971 went to Europe. They rented a little cottage. Gas heater was vented in instead of out. Our daughter, who was 19, died of carbon monoxide. You never get over it, obviously, but we were able to live. I was asked by Edison College, they have every year Holocaust Remembrance Week. And I talked to the students there, sometimes as many as 300, and they are very interested and ask a lot of good questions. And also at the Holocaust Museum in Naples, and so has Carla.
Yeah. I believe it was an 8th grade class, and I told them, you know, when this happened, I was exactly your age. When you're 15, 16, 17, that's when you grow up. So I had to make lots of decisions on my own, and they weren't used to, and my sister, same thing, that we were really grown up having gone through all this.
It is so important that the story gets told, because pretty soon there won't be any survivors anymore.
Holland had, I believe, 140,000 Jews before the war, and only about 30,000 survived.
I still don't understand how I survived those 2 years in that condition. It's a miracle.
On Monday, Don Steinhoek returns with the latest installment of his lecture series, Beautiful Science. Here's a preview.
Hello, everyone. I'm Terry Kolath, and I'm here today with our employee chaplain here at Shell Point, Don Steinhoek. And we're talking about beautiful science. Thanks for joining me again, Don.
Well, it's a privilege to be here.
And thanks for not letting us down. Semester after semester after semester, you've brought us beautiful science and boggled our minds.
Well, the beauty of it is that on the internet at TED.com and TEDMED.com, we have access to world-class experts who are making presentations that last for 18 minutes in terms that people can understand. You know, it's a wonderful opportunity to learn and to be informed about what's going on.
Another thing that it does for us is lets us know these people are human. I mean, they're funny, they're engaging, and they're involved in some of the most cutting-edge research in the world.
Absolutely.
It's fabulous. And we've been learning as much as we can, with your help, about DNA. Mm-hmm. What's going on with DNA?
Well, one of the things that they're finding out is there's a presenter that's going to talk about the social network of the proteins in our body. And he is basically somebody who is a mathematician, who is doing research in terms of the interconnectedness of different events and different things that happen, not only in the sociological sense, but also in the physical sense of what's happening inside the cells of our body. And he's discovering that cells have identical proteins, even though cells have different functions. And these identical proteins in different cells and different organs and all of that affect us in interconnected ways. And his mapping of that right now is about 2%. And some of his results are really quite startling in terms of treating an illness of the kidney, not only by treating the kidney as an organ, but by treating the social interaction or the connection between the identical protein molecules in the kidney and in other organs and in other cells in the body as well. So it holds a lot of promise, and it opens a door to understanding disease in a different way so that it can be treated more as a total body treatment rather than an individual organ treatment. Along with that, we now have the ability, and we've had it for several years, to actually add to the DNA structure within a living cell. And by doing that, we can then have that DNA produce specific proteins that have never been produced by that cell before.
Healing proteins, for instance?
Well, herein lies the challenge. And the person who makes that presentation, which will also be shown this time, uses this rather simple illustration, and I brought this with me this morning just to hopefully explain it to those who are watching. This is a simple tape recorder, nothing more, nothing less. And she says in her presentation that our understanding of DNA and the process of life is we basically have developed a tool that's like this tape recorder. Now imagine that I would go into an auditorium where behind the curtain is a total symphony and a choir and an organ and every musical instrument known to man. And I'm sitting in this auditorium and all I have in my hand is a simple tape recorder. And I start to hear this beautiful music. So I press record on my tape recorder and I record what I'm hearing. Now I have no understanding of the orchestra or the instruments or any of the things that are producing the sound. The only thing I have is a recording of the sound. Now what I can do is I can go with my simple tape recorder and I can cut and splice the music that I've heard to rearrange it in different style with no understanding at all of how the music was produced. And she said that's where we're at with DNA. We don't understand the music. All we understand is the structure, and to try to apply that in a way that is helpful and beneficial is a monumental challenge that they're facing today. The potential is huge for all kinds of implications in terms of longevity, in terms of health, in terms of healing, in terms of new medicines and all of that. But as she says so eloquently, we don't understand the music. The only thing we can do is we can cut and splice it as though we understand it, but we're at that level of understanding. So although we've gained a lot of knowledge about DNA and how DNA is translated into RNA and how RNA produces individual proteins within the living cell and all of that, we understand the mechanism. We made the recording, but we don't understand the music. And as we try to understand the music, it's going to open a lot of doors.
Who would have ever thought that the last frontier is so deep within us?
That's true. That's true.
And thank you so much for bringing this information to us.
Well, it's my pleasure.
Oh, it's wonderful. Well, I hope you will join us Monday, May 20th, 1 o'clock, Grand Cypress Room, as Don Stainhook again brings us beautiful science.
We're glad you joined us for today's show. Tune in next week for more stories and news from around your community. Until then, this is Shell Point Today for the weekend of May 17th, 18th, and 19th. I'm Dan Philgreen, and from all of us here at Shell Point TV, we hope you have a great weekend, and we'll see you back here again on Monday.